is waking up to the menace of Antifa, the left-wing agitators who fight against oppression by violently oppressing those who oppose them. This past weekend, they got violent in Berkeley, California, and assaulted a whole bunch of people. After that, House Democratic leader Nancy Pelosi had no choice but to admit they are out of control and issued a statement sort of condemning them. One of the people attacked by this group in Berkeley this past weekend was a Trump supporter called Keith Campbell. Watch this. Keith Campbell joins us tonight. Keith, you look like you were about to get really, really hurt, maybe killed. What was the predicate to that? What happened right before the tape we just played?
Well, I had gone to the park to see what was going on. I know there was a canceled Say No to Marxism rally, but I also knew that some people were going to show up. And so I wanted to go and observe what was going on, record what was going on. I think most people figured that Antifa would be there. And it was no surprise when they showed up. Earlier in the day, there was no problem. People were giving interviews. There was a heavy police presence both around the barricaded park and throughout the park. And there was no issue. But strangely enough, even though we weren't allowed to have any protective gear, helmets or anything, they let about 200 Antifa with masks just come right through one of the openings and start mixing with Trump supporters. And they immediately started ejecting Trump supporters. They would find someone and surround them and usher them out. But at that point, they weren't really attacking people because the police were there. But I couldn't believe that the police were actually letting them there.
I mean, how did the beating? Well, first of all, are you injured? I mean, I can't believe you got out of there. What are your injuries like?
Yeah, you know, I'm like bruised ribs, bruised kidney. It wasn't torn. They did sonogram things just to make sure it wasn't torn. I got about 4 or 5 lumps on the back of my head, scrapes, bruises, swelling, things like that. Nothing that won't heal.
Did these guys start hitting you without warning? How did the beating begin?
Well, you know, after the massive part of the black bloc came, the police disappeared, and then there was an announcement. The police have stood down, and then like a sea of black just like poured into the park, and then it started getting violent. So after a few minutes, I'm still filming, I'm still around them, and I noticed like a whole bunch of them go down Alston Way. So I go down there to see, okay, what's going on? They're following someone or something. So I went down there, and I'm filming, and then suddenly I hear someone go, you know, there's that racist blank blank that's doxing you and ruining your lives. And I started to turn. I thought, okay, I got to get out of here. I'm surrounded by Antifa. And I took maybe one step, and the first like club smash knocked my camera and monopod out of my hand. And I thought, I'm just going to grab it and run. So I started to reach, and then they just started pounding me over the head. And
so you didn't say anything to them?
No. I'm always like a silent observer. For like 7 months, I go around, I observe, I record, and I just couldn't believe it. I was just shocked. And after the first few hits, I was stunned and dropped to the ground. Well,
there's this amazing moment. I don't know if our viewers watched it, but there's an African-American guy standing there in a red shirt. He's a lefty journalist, actually, named Al Letson. Mm-hmm. And he said later he thought you were going to get killed, and he dove on you and put his hands up, and people stopped hitting. Have you talked to him?
You know, I reached out to him on Twitter, and I definitely want to connect with him. I didn't know at the time that he had stopped it. I have very little recollection of what happened. I was sure I was going to die. I kind of made my peace. Yeah. I'm like, I hope it's quick because this is really painful.
He was sure you were going to die too.
Yeah, and I couldn't believe it when they let me up, and I thought they were standing me up to finish the job or something to really get at me. And it's unbelievable that that man who doesn't know me and probably thought that I could be maybe an enemy. I mean, I don't know. People assume I'm alt-right, which is completely crazy, but he dove in rather than standing back and doing the journalistic thing. I mean, he saved my life.
Well, God bless him.
Incredible.
God bless him for doing that. Really quickly, you said you spent 7 months following Antifa around. Who are these people exactly, and what do they want, to the extent you can tell?
They think they're the anti-fascists, and and so then everyone else that they don't like or they disagree with is a fascist. And Trump supporters are all, they used to be Trump supporters are, white nationalists or alt-right. Now it's like graduated to anyone who supports Trump is a Nazi or a neo-Nazi, regardless of your skin color. And they believe that we've committed the first crime. We've committed the first crime by being a Nazi, so it's self-defense. And they don't believe it's even a crime to attack us, even unarmed. And that's what's been happening.
Doesn't look like America to me. Keith, congratulations on surviving that. I hope you hook up with Al Letson, and thanks for doing the show.
Thank you very much, Tucker.
Laura Ingraham is a radio show host, the editor-in-chief of LifeSet.com. She's been thinking a lot about this subject, and she joins us tonight. You had, I thought, one of the smartest suggestions. Why not classify Antifa as a terrorist group?
Well, they are. I mean, sadly, that is America today. We've had official after official ignore this. This has been going on for a long time with Antifa.
Yes.
Antifa. They've been terrorizing people, intimidating people, and when they can get away with it, violently attacking people. These are felons, and for them, this is. We hear about honor killings, usually in the Middle East. For them, this is honorable. And I'm concerned we'll get to that point where to win the badge of honor in Antifa, you do actually have to kill someone. We saw what happened with that young woman in Charlottesville, and she was run over by I guess a white supremacist. That death was horrific and reprehensible, and should be condemned by all.
Yeah.
This should be condemned with alacrity by all Republicans, Democrats.
Right.
Everyone, and I'm glad Nancy Pelosi, finally came out. She had to be shamed into it. I think if this network and a number of people on this network and a few others hadn't written about it, talked about it, reported on it, I'm not sure she really would have.
Of course, you wouldn't know what happened.
No.
Actually, one of the reasons I'm really hoping that someday my prayers are answered and the Republicans take over Congress is maybe they'll have hearings on this.
Yeah.
Because I think there very little we know really about Antifa. It's
And who's? I mean, maybe they don't need a lot of money, but don't you get the sense that there's some individual or individuals who are centrally organizing this? They have.
Well, yeah, where's the Congress in that? I mean, this is happening. This is not Venezuela. This is happening in California.
You
What's
would never
going
know.
on?
Like if you said this was happening in Venezuela, there was a riot. You say, oh yeah, that looks like Venezuela. But no, this is the United States. This is where the free speech movement began.
Yes.
In the United States, we have police who are not doing their job. They're ostensibly are standing there with shields and helmets on. They're allowing Antifa to enter this park. They stood back and left when Antifa entered this space after the initial protest was canceled and so forth. They said they worried that if they blocked Antifa, it would lead to real violence. Okay, well, something's not working out here. And there will be an individual who decides to bust through the qualified immunity that most police get for how they conduct themselves in the line of duty, and really go after these police departments.
Oh yeah.
And I think you could look for a conspiracy. You could look for RICO. You could bust through qualified immunity, which oftentimes they get, because there's a recklessness beyond negligence. There is a reckless disregard for human life in the way this is being policed and covered. And we have civil rights lawsuits. Harmeet Dillon is representing
we
she's
talked to her.
Phenomenal, representing the Google engineer, but also representing an individual who was attacked during the campaign
in San Jose.
In San Jose, and there was violence there. But this is terroristic. This is fascistic, and this is shutting down speech and intimidating good people, prayerful people who were there to pray for peace for all sides.
Keith Campbell, who we just talked to, who has a bruised kidney because of this, and almost got killed, I think it's fair to say.
Somebody's going to get killed.
He said the criterion they're using to choose the people they beat up is voting for Trump.
Yeah.
So how is this different from a political militia abetted by the police that you see in Caracas or Port-au-Prince? That's what it looks like to me.
Remember what they did with that border militia? What would they call it? They would ride the border, and the media went crazy. The Minutemen went crazy over the Minutemen. How could the Minutemen be there? Like, they're taking the law into their own hands. Well, these individuals are policing thought and violently doing so.
Punishing people for voting for someone they don't like.
And I think the Democrats definitely have some culpability here because they have ratcheted up the criticism of both the president and the president's supporters in ways that are very disturbing. Going right to race, right to racism. It's the race play that they've made is so toxic and so bad for African Americans, Hispanics, white people, poor people. Certainly not good for anyone. And they've countenanced this. Now, they can come back with their condemnations now, but people are whipped up into this frenzy that Donald Trump hates all minorities. He thinks this. He's anti-immigrant. He's this. We've got to stop him at all costs. He's the real, clear and present danger to the country. When you listen to Schumer, listen to Pelosi, that's what they paint him out to be.
Well, the establishment on both sides have done a terrible job running this country. They've failed by every
Have the
measure.
Bushes come out and condemned Antifa?
No,
have all these people trashing Trump? Have they come out to condemn Antifa?
Oh, you're whipping me up into a frenzy, Laura.
Yeah. Good to be here.
Speaking of a frenzy.